Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ. Man, how the times have changed in the AFC East, both over the years and even from last season to now. Katie, the Aaron Rodgers experiment we know is done. Meanwhile, Buffalo's chosen one came up just short again. This is a league that was once dominated by the Patriots. Now it's dominated by the Bills. All the while, the Dolphins and the Jets just trying to keep up in either direction. But some big changes expected this offseason. So let's talk about some of those changes with our awesome crew. We've got 4 Super Bowls between the two of them in front of us. We've got 2-time Super Bowl champion Bryant "BMAC" McFadden, and we've got 2-time Super Bowl analyst Tyler Sullivan joining us here on the show. I know, right? I feel like we need Tully in to put the applause in. Guys, obviously the AFC we know needs some work. So we're going to start with the New England Patriots, who they have the 4th pick in this year's draft, guys, but we also know that Mike Vrabel football is tough. It's physical, and I hope it's going to look a lot better than it did from a year ago if, Tyler, they can build around Drake May. So from your perspective, what is the biggest need to help the Patriots get through this run right now?
Well, you kind of just telegraphed it, right? It's Mike Vrabel, it's tough, it's gritty, and then you reference Drake May, and he's clearly the franchise future going forward. So what do? You get better offensive line play. You go into the trenches, you get an offensive tackle. Will Campbell out of LSU has been the guy that most people, particularly Ryan Wilson, is mocked going to the New England Patriots at number 4 overall, and I think that makes all the sense in the world. Yes, this team has plenty of needs on both sides of the ball. You could look to the trenches on the defensive line. You could look at wide receiver, but to me, the number one thing is to keep Drake May upright, because it won't matter if they draft a wide receiver at number 4 or go sign T. Higgins in free agency. If Drake May is not able to sit in the pocket and feel comfortable to deliver the football in year 2, this offense is going to remain stagnant. It's been an issue, offensive tackle, for the past couple of years for the New England Patriots. You can go all the way back to the draft where they drafted Isaiah Wynn in the 1st round, and that really didn't pan out for them. The tackle out of Georgia. So this has been an issue building for the Patriots going back to the days of Mac Jones, Cam Newton, now continuing with Drake May. So for me, it's solidify the offensive line. You might even need to double dip. I think at number 4, you try to get Will Campbell as your left tackle, and in free agency, try to find one on the right side.
Well, this is a team, they need a lot. They need a lot. And for me, it's all about playmakers. They got to go get some playmakers to add to the young quarterback. They got to find a way to go get some playmakers to add to the defense. So sitting there at 4, if Abdul Carter is available, you draft him. If Travis Hunter is available, you draft him. Both players are day 1 starters immediately. Book-in starters, guys that can provide production for your organization for at least a decade. And they've shown the ability to change the entire culture instantly. Now, if Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, they're off the board, Tyler, I'm right there with you. You got to go get Will Campbell. He has had an outstanding career. Since stepping foot on campus there for LSU, he was a starter. True freshman, first football game in a collegiate uniform against Jared Verse. Stood up, he battled for 4 quarters as a true freshman, so he's seen a lot of football. And to your point, Tyler, if you're able to go get a guy like Will Campbell, don't worry about it. He will be starting day 1.
I like that. BMX not that specific. He's like, y'all need to go out and get some playmakers for this team. And Haley, just going back to that wall, did you see that Haley Steinfeld, who is Josh Allen's fiance, when they asked who the other people are in the division, she goes, well, there's the Bills, and then there's all of the Bills' sons. Of course, Patriots fans probably have something to say about that and all of their rings. But moving on here, the New York Jets looking for a quarterback and a whole lot more. Former Jet Aaron Glenn is excited about his new staff. But BMAC, we know going into year 1 with that franchise, it's going to be an uphill battle. Where do you think that they need to make the most improvement?
Well, I kind of been going back and forth. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman. Clearly, when you look at Morgan Moses becoming a free agent, Tyler Smith becoming a free agent, and both guys are older, you need to address maybe one of the tackle positions, but later on in the draft. So I'm taking the defensive line right now. I think that is the biggest need for the New York Jets, especially in the 1st round. When you look at a guy like Mason Grimm, if he's available at number 7, you do not waste any time. There's nothing to think about. You go get him and add him. He is the best interior lineman in the draft by far. It is not just about run support. You see him getting after the quarterback. And if you pair Mason next to Quinnen Williams, good luck when you talk about trying to go get guys like Josh Allen in your division. Tua Tagovailoa in your division. Those are the teams you're chasing. Those are the teams you need to have success against, especially at the quarterback play. And if you're able to go get a guy like Mason, he will make Josh Allen's life a little more difficult, and the same can be said for Tua Tagovailoa.
I absolutely love that pick, especially pairing that with defensive-minded head coach and Aaron Glenn. But for me, it starts and stops with the quarterback, right? This team still needs a quarterback. We're coming off of the team officially parting ways with Aaron Rodgers, and we're kind of walking into the great unknown with the New York Jets at the quarterback position. Now, that might be the need. The question is, how do they get there? They could obviously go into free agency, try to get into the trade market to try to find that quarterback. But if we're specifically trying to find the avenues for them at number 7 overall, it's going to be tricky. If they're going down the Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders type of route, you're probably hoping for a trade up, because as much as we're going to talk about, the Tennessee Titans probably not passing on a quote unquote generational talent, and whether that means Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, or if the Cleveland Browns want to have a Myles Garrett replacement in Abdul Carter at number 2, I always sit back and say, you know what? These two teams still need a quarterback. So if you're the New York Jets or their crosstown rival, the New York Giants, I'm concerned about those teams attacking the quarterback position early in the draft. So for me, I'm trying to trade up as often as I can if you fall in love with a Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders if you're the New York Jets. Because at the end of the day, the success of this organization is going to rest on if they can hit on this position. Again, whether that's free agency or here is what we're talking about right now, the NFL draft. So to me, it's still quarterback, no matter which way they can try to identify that problem.
Unfortunately, the rest of the team also feeling some of those struggles, guys. The NFLPA report cards came out, and Woody Johnson, the only owner to receive an F from his players. So some work to do for sure when it comes to the Jets.
A little awkward.
The Dolphins, meanwhile, though, got an A. They got the best report card. So a little transition to some positivity there, guys. We know as well that the Dolphins, another one of those teams that could use some work. Teron Armstead sort of weighing retirement at this moment, BMAC, so that sort of frees up some money. What do the Dolphins need? Because it feels like they had the roster in place to really make some noise, and things just didn't work out because of injuries. So where do the Dolphins go here? What's the first point of business when it comes to Miami?
Offensive line. You talked about Teron Armstead, status moving forward is in question. You look at both guards, they're free agents as well. So they got to find a way to improve the offensive line, because to your point, Haley, yes, they have a lot of talented players on the offensive side, but it doesn't mean anything if the offensive linemen are not doing what they're supposed to do. So me personally, if I'm the Miami Dolphins, Amon Mimbo from Minnesota, he is the guy you target. The thing I love about Amon, he has the versatility to either play guard or tackle, and clearly those are two significant needs for the Miami Dolphins. I believe he will be a plug-and-play player instantly. I love the physical nature that he plays with. And one thing about Amon, anytime he gets his hands on you, he is going to finish the block. He's not a nice guy. He is a guy that is throwing people out of the club. And if you play on the offensive line, you have to be a bouncer at any given time, willing to kick you out of the club if you're not properly dressed. That's who Mimbo is. I think he would be a great addition to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, and to that point, BMAC, I think that Teron Armstead's kind of the key variable to this whole thing, because if he's deciding to come back, well then, okay, it frees you up to do a little bit more. If he decides to retire, well then you really have to emphasize the offensive tackle position, really the offensive line as a whole. Could Kelvin Banks be an option there out of Texas? Those are the things that they're going to need to discuss. Let's play the other side of it. If Teron Armstead comes back, I still think that this team needs a secondary pass catcher or another pass catcher to put in this offense. You can kind of talk about that, whether that's a wide receiver in Luther Burden or Matthew Golden, or you could look at the tight end spot. Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, those couple of players I think would be really interesting, because it feels like the Miami Dolphins have been trying to find that third pass catching option in their offense over the last couple of years. OBJ was one at the receiver position. They kind of stumbled into it with Jonnu Smith at the tight end spot. That's why you kind of open up the possibility of maybe drafting another tight end, do a little bit more 12 personnel in Mike McDaniel's offense. So to me, that is what I think is going to be interesting, especially because kind of the elephant in the room is that we still don't necessarily know what's going to happen with Tyreek Hill. He had wrist surgery earlier this offseason. We all know what happened at the end of the season where he said he's quote unquote out and then walking it back all Super Bowl week. It still feels like there's another shoe to drop in that saga, but it should serve as a reminder that life with Tyreek Hill is not long. He's still kind of in the twilight of his career. He's still got have plenty of good years in front of them, but still, there is going to be a need here to have a running mate alongside Jalen Waddle, so that might be an option for them at pass catcher.
I agree with both of them. I think both of those positions are going to be very important for them. All right, if the Bills are the daddy of the division, they are still just one game away from breaking through. Josh Allen finally winning MVP, Haley, but coming up short in the AFC Championship game. They already locked up Khalil Shakir, which thank God, right, for the next few seasons. But what else do the Bills need to get over the hump? We'll start with you, B-Mac.
Well, when you look at Brandon Beane, since becoming the GM for the Buffalo Bills going back to his first draft in 2018, he has traded the first-round selection 5 times, even going back to a year ago, moving out of the first round. So if they keeps this first-round pick intact, Shavon Revel is the guy for me. And here's why. You potentially could lose Rasul Douglas to free agency. And if you look at his style of play, he's around 6'3", very, very nimble, plays with great pad level. He fits a Sean McDermott-like corner. And you need to address the talent issue in the secondary, especially if you're losing a guy like Rasul Douglas. So I understand he tore his ACL this past season for East Carolina. The luxury, it happened earlier in the year, so he should be ready to go by the start of the season. He is a legit first-round type of talent. He does a great job in coverage, but I also love his willingness to tackle. So if the Buffalo Bills keep this first-round selection, that is the guy for me. But looking at what Brandon Beane has done in years past, I wouldn't be surprised to see Brandon make some type of move, maybe moving up or moving out of the first round, because he's shown he does not care a lot about first-round picks, and he does not mind moving either direction.
You know, if you're Brandon Beane, if you're Sean McDermott, you're sitting back and watching that Super Bowl, and you're seeing the Philadelphia Eagles absolutely torch the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that has just been impossible to get over the last few years during the Josh Allen era. And so I think that what they're going to learn from that is we need to continue bolstering the pass rush. The way that we can attack Patrick Mahomes, or at least try to, is mimic the ways that the Philadelphia Eagles were able to do in that Super Bowl, which is complete pressure in the middle, on the edge, whichever way you can do it. So to me, it's adding more pass rushers, especially because we don't know the status of Von Miller. He is obviously a Hall of Fame talent, but to me, I wonder if he's going to be a cap casualty. A lot of reports and stuff like that indicate that he could be someone that the Bills need to cut loose to get cap compliant. Best way to do that, to replace him, is to bring in cheap young talent. I look at a guy like Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State, possibly helping you off the edge. So to me, it's mimicking what the Philadelphia Eagles were able to do to get over this dreaded monster that has been the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC.
I'm with you on this one, Tyler, and I'll even take it a step further than that. It's what the Bucs did to beat them in their first Super Bowl loss. It's that pressure. It's getting out and punching them in the face and making sure that Patrick Mahomes cannot be Patrick Mahomes. Thanks, B-Mac. Thanks, Tyler. Sit tight, though, as we are going to tackle the NFC next. Before we do, let's look at some odds to win the AFC for teams, of course, in the AFC East. Bills plus 375. Heavy favorites here. Heavy favorites here. You got the Dolphins at plus competition. Come on now. Dolphins at plus 2,500. Patriots plus 3,000. Jets plus 6,000. They were a favorite last year to win this division with Aaron Rodgers. Not so more anymore.